Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
That's why they used to wrap all the babies in linen and use copper-lined bottles, because the linen would help them sleep and calm their bodies and stop them from crying. Because remember, linen has the highest frequency of all fabrics, a frequency of 5,000 hertz. And that's why Jesus told us to wear linen in the Bible, because the human body only resonates at 100 megahertz. So when you're wearing linen, you're boosting your vibrational frequency. And as a result, you are healing your body through those frequencies. And just like copper, linen is antibacterial and antimicrobial, so that no bacteria was spreading in the hospitals between patients and babies who then had to use other beds. And the copper cups were conducting copper into the water, electrically charging the water which the patients would drink and young children. And this would then also boost their vibrational frequency, because we are electrical beings. But now they wrap babies in polyester and they only use plastic bottles, because polyester drags the frequency of the body down and weakens the body alongside plastic. And so if everybody's healthy, they wouldn't be able to profit off of that. So combining copper and linen is very beneficial for your body.
Oh, you son of a bitch. So listen to this one now. The mainstream narrative says that these cowboys from England traveled to America, relieved the natives from their hooks, and by the year 1890 they was building houses like this. And now you're trying to tell me that by the year 1925 they was making buildings like this? It's only 45 years later, brother. So basically, by the time his son is his age, he's making buildings like this. Who teaches them the knowledge in 40 years time to build these structures? His dad. Look how these men are living, raggedy and rough, no clean clothes, no one's having a wash, no power tools. He don't even look like he's got the hammer and chisel. And then all of a sudden, there you go. Buildings that stand the test of time. I don't think they thought this one through. Are you trying to tell me that the people that built this building are these men? So cowboys, criminals, and soldiers, by the time they're kids of their age, they're building temples, courthouses, and castles with just a hammer and a chisel. When I say history is a lie, I mean his story is a lie. What you know about Australia? Oh my days. So, according to the official narrative, the first settlement at Sydney consisted of about 850 convicts and their Marine Guards and officers, led by Governor Arthur Phillip. They arrived at Botany Bay in the first fleet of 9 transport ships, accompanied by 2 small warships, in January 1788. So let me see if I got this straight. You're trying to tell me by the 1800s, those ex-convicts and Marines went on to build buildings like this with just a hammer and chisel? And it wasn't just a one building flex, it was a whole city. What? Let me see if I got this straight. The official narrative said this is the first building made in 1793. And you're trying to tell me that they went from this to buildings like this in what, 50, 60 years? No power tools, just horse and a wagon. This photo is from 1804, just over 20 years after the first settlers arrived, who were ex-convicts and military men. And the building, fully complete. I'm gonna have to do a 3-part series on this, because I ain't finished with Australia yet.
Imagine drinking this water at 3 AM. Tell me this isn't the cleanest looking water you've ever seen in your life. I think our ancestors were onto something when they used to drink from copper. Now, unlike plastic or stainless steel, copper is naturally antibacterial and antimicrobial. This means that copper acts as a natural water purifier. When the water sits in the vessel for 12 or more hours, then bacteria, any bacterial viruses cannot survive. Not only this, but because it's copper and you're letting the water sit in the vessel, you're going to be absorbing the mineral copper. And copper, if you didn't know already, is very beneficial for your brain, hair and skin health. And honestly, since upgrading from a plastic water bottle to copper, it's been a game changer. So if they ever had dirty water coming through their pipes and it was undrinkable, they would rest copper in it to purify the water. Even old age pools, they would put copper in them to prevent any bacteria from building up and spreading, and it would keep the water crystal clear all year round before chlorine even existed. Not only that, but the mineral content of the water would increase massively, which people would then absorb when they were swimming. And that's one of the main reasons they replaced copper with chlorine, because we know that copper has profound benefits and chlorine is actually one of the most toxic things you can absorb. And that's another reason why they're pulling copper pipes out of houses and replacing them with plastic pipes, because they don't want you to get that benefit that the copper's going to give you when the water comes into contact with it. They used to have massive water fountains that anybody could drink out of because the copper was purifying the water. Gutters in houses were made from copper, and people could safely drink rainwater, which is another reason they banned you from collecting rainwater, especially when you would collect it in copper, because the copper was also structuring the water electrically, increasing the hydration levels of the water as well. And so ever since after World War II, copper and the use of copper has been decreasing in water for these very reasons.
So the last time we looked at a picture of the griffin that was discovered near the Amazon rainforest on the outskirts of the Peru border, just walking around before it took flight. The person with the video of it released this much for me to show you, but this isn't AI, and this is supposedly a griffin, a real life video of one griffin that they called out in public. And if you look at it, it's exactly like the emblems on the shields and the great structures of Tartaria that still exist today in our modern times. And now obviously we know the griffins still exist too.
What if I told you that the history we were told ain't the full history? What if I told you that there were black slave owners too? Meet Anthony Johnson. In the early 1620s, he was kidnapped by African slave traders and sold to Portuguese slavers, who named him Antonio. They later sold him into the Atlantic slave trade. A colonist in Virginia bought him as an indentured servant. See, in the beginning of slavery, they weren't called slaves, they were called indentured servants, meaning they were held captive until they worked for a certain amount of time, usually 4 to 7 years. Once they finished their terms, they could freely acquire land and capital. See, slave laws wasn't passed until 1661, and blacks were not considered to be enslaved. So because of this, Johnson was an unfree laborer. In 1623, he married a woman named Mary, who he would be married to for more than 40 years and had 4 kids. In 1635, he and Mary finished the terms of their servitude, and he changed his name to Anthony Johnson. By 1651, the government gave him 250 acres of land under the head right system because he bought 5 indentured servants. The head right system was if a man brought an indentured servant to the colonies, he was granted 50 acres per head. Johnson had 4 white servants and 1 black. He even bought his son's contract. And yes, white people were slaves too. Johnson ran a tobacco farm using indentured servants. He also owned 40 slaves. He treated his slaves well. He wasn't mean, he wasn't harsh, he was fair. He and Mary farmed 250 acres while the sons owned 550 acres. In 1652, all of a sudden, the Johnson plantation caught on fire and he took a big loss, but was able to recover because the courts exempted his wife and daughters from paying taxes. Then he had to go to court because his white neighbor was trying to steal one of his slaves, and he ended up winning that case. Slave name was John Kaser, who became the first person declared an enslaved person in a civil case, even though it said John Punch was the first documented slave. This was the first case in which a servant was sentenced to a permanent servitude without committing a crime, which unfortunately paved the way for what we know as slavery today. In 1657, another neighbor forged a letter saying Johnson owed him a debt. Whether it was real or not is still unknown. Johnson didn't fight the case, and even though he was illiterate and couldn't read or write, the court still awarded his neighbor 100 acres of his land. So Johnson moved his family to Maryland and leased a 300-acre plot for 99 years. He turned it into a tobacco farm named Torrey's Vineyards, where he established a free black planter community in Northampton. He passed in 1670 and Mary passed in 1675. After his death, the judge ruled that he was not a citizen of the colony because he was black, therefore giving his land to a white colonist. Like, share, and leave a comment and let me know what you think. Follow for more stories.
Underground tunnels that run through the whole world. A dude got from like California to New York in like an hour or something like that.
You can look this up. There's a patent for a MAGLEV train. It's a magnetically levitated train that can travel from East Coast to West Coast in under an hour. I've interviewed people who said they took this train. The patents are public information. They exist. Throughout history, there have been several cataclysms that took place on the planet. In order for people to survive these cataclysms, they have to go underground. That's why across the world, you see these empty underground networks and cities that were built for this. There's a tribe in America called the Hopi tribe, Native Americans. In their creation story, there's a group called the Ant People. They said the Ant People came from underground and gave them knowledge and taught them information on how to survive the cataclysms on the surface. In order to be able to live subterranean, you gotta have approval. That's where all of these stories come from. We seen a whistleblower come out and said the government spent $21 trillion on building underground cities in case of an extinction event. All across America, we hear people coming out, yo, I hear loud booms and banging underground. That's what's going on down there. And then you see Elon Musk, he has his boring company. Elon Musk goes all through Vegas just for his electric vehicles. That same technology, there are patents for that, to build these underground tunnels. Those are all patented information. You can look this up. They don't allow this information to be used in free technology because it would give a great imbalance to the power structures across the world with the international bankers. Because if you can use magnetic elevation, basically anti-gravity, for travel, that would completely eliminate the use for coal, fossil fuels. All of those billionaires' net worth would drop in a matter of minutes. That's why they keep us in this matrix with one set of science when they know other sets of science definitely exist.
So if you start to look at all of the products that started to come out in the 1910s and 1920s, you can see that loads of things were made from radium. There was radium chewing gum, radium clocks on the dials, radium water which they used for medicine, and they also had these little radium cones as well, which they would place in water and it would create spring water. And this is where all of the artesian springs come from. And this is because the radium is turning it into an artesian spring. And there was also a study where they got a brick and they placed it in radium water and the brick turned into spring water, just by simply placing the brick into the water. So we've been told to fear all of these radioactive materials. What if there's a deeper truth to these things? Because they were used in abundance in the 18 and 1900s, even medicinally. But we know that the medical system is owned by the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds and the Morgans, and they completely changed everything after the war.
Propaganda at its finest. What they did here was they brought in this guy to explain to you, right? Because you're supposed to be stupid. So he's supposed to reinforce the spell of them building the Empire State Building in a year. We about to put this whole shit to rest. Watch this CGI'd bullshit set that these guys are running to try and make it seem as if they built the Empire State Building. This incredible speed was achieved due to factors like the Great Depression, which made labor readily available. Give me a break. Can we come on now? The construction took just over 1 year. Look, March 1970, 1930. Look, May, y'all went through the winter, through the snow, the freezing cold snow in the winter, and you built this. Y'all constructed this the tallest building in a year through the winter when y'all can't even build a Walgreens that fast. Watch this bullshit. Oh, I got they ass now.
Okay, this is a video that was put together by a YouTube channel, Rick 88888888. He has a phenomenal channel, and this video, Rick, has changed the way I think about the past and construction. I'm going to be watching the construction and commenting on what it is that I know as a builder, watching men work in 1930 and 1931. It's amazing. Okay, I got to pause this right here. It says they set the first column on April 8th. They started on March 17th. That's 21 days before they were setting a column. And there's no hydraulics anywhere. That digging was done with, I guess, dynamite, picks, shovels, and horses. That's amazing. I guess those that's part of the spread footings. That in some way is reinforcing inside a concrete spread footing under this thing, I guess. Look at those cranes. They had to set those up in 21 days. Look at that. All right, pause that. Are those rocks hand stacked on the back side of that footing?
Are they?
Or is that what they were having to dig in? I have no idea. I can't answer that, but man, those guys are tough. Look at their pants, boys and girls. Those pants are dirty. They don't wash them every night when they get home. That would chase me off right there. I assume those are steel cable lifting straps. I assume.
Woo.
What a beautiful job of putting the color in here these guys did. Wow. Those are some I-beams, so they must be counting on the I-beam for the strength and the concrete that they surround it with to protect it. That's a different footing, but similar, for sure. Look at that, with all the pedestrians right downtown.
No!
The cop is keeping people off, out of their way.
Fake.
Side passing horse, that's cool. I think that beam is called a Carnegie beam. Yeah, I think that's what they call this. Look at the complexity. Tagline coming in. So I'm going to skip ahead. They've got a bunch of footage about how they made those beams, but just look at that thing. I bet that's real time.
So y'all see what I'm talking about? This NPC over here, he's doing his best work to try and put it in your... Oh man, look at him. Look at him working. Oh man, they're so tough. Look at their pants. There's dirt on them. Oh, look at him working so hard. Then he had the nerve to say, yeah, they're doing this all with picks, shovels, horses, and axes. What? And please tell me how the fuck y'all supposedly built this. But you watched him. He was like, yeah, they started on this day, and in 21 days, they got that one column up. 21 days, that's pretty much a month. They got up one column. Yeah, you got like, I don't know, 800, 900,000, I don't know, more to go. It's not adding up, bro. It ain't adding up. Let's just keep listening to this NPC. And just mind you, they just used the whole CGI. They're showing you a beam over. Everybody knows during construction, you have a beam, it's going over nothing. It's not going over no traffic. It's not like, what are you even talking about?
Love the hard hat. Okay. So in 1930, blacksmith shops were still everywhere. And so these machinists, these guys working in this fab shop, probably had spent time in a smaller scale blacksmith shop. I don't know, but I had no idea that gang drills like this existed. Look at these machines drilling these holes. Look at the ribbons that are coming out of there. Those things will cut you. He's pouring on coolant, probably just oil. All right, now they're going to find out if the holes work. Look at that. Looks like a 4-inch thick plate. And there were no welders then, so they're going to be riveting this stuff, so everything has to fit. Look at the spud wrenches in the back, lining up the holes. Everybody's moving like they mean it. That's loud. Dropped in, perfect fit.
Moving like they mean it.
That's not easy. Now look at this, look at the flex in that plate. That's got to be a 3 by 30-inch piece of bar stock. Carnegie steel, I think, came into existence like 1880 or something, and this is 50 years later. Look at those lifting hooks, just bent out of strap. Okay, so I've got to just admire the accuracy of those holes. I don't know how much slack they put in there, but as the bar comes down like that, the length changes, and the bolt holes still have to line up. Okay, they're upsetting the rivets. They're putting hot round stock. See that? The bar on the left, right there, is hot. Beautiful job of coloration. And while it's hot, they've got to get it inside that upsetting tool and squish the head on there. See the rivets that are done right in front? That head acts as a nut on a bolt, but the shrinking rivet tightens it up much tighter than you can possibly get it with threads and a nut. I have no idea how much that thing weighs, but it is heavy. Look at that thing. All right, now there's an example. Oh, they're swinging the beam to the upsetting tool. That's a different mechanism. But if you don't get in there while that round stock is hot, it just won't do the same thing.
Just stop. Let's just shut it down real quick. Y'all did not build this. It took y'all 21 days, quote unquote, to raise a column where? Did you ever see like a site of Empire State of the? No, you didn't. All you got is a CGI video of this guy showing you CGI film, and some guy's working somewhere where that guy was working that was in a blacksmith place somewhere, like, oh, he's making the beams now. If those videos ain't the biggest bunch of bullshit, y'all need to really go back and look, because they had to make these videos up to install this program in your head. And I just wanted y'all to know these NPCs are cooked. Cooked. But when the mind's blind, the eyes can see.
Think of people's canes. They used to be made out of copper and brass. They used to have those really fancy looking canes that looks like bronze. And the reason was they were grounding through those canes. Because what you'd find is some of them canes were made from copper, silver and brass. And so when they were pressing that cane into the floor, that cane was then conducting the Earth's electromagnetic energy. And then the handles were also made out of copper, brass, gold, if you were wealthy enough for gold. And so that electricity and frequency would travel up the cane to the person. And and as a result, instantaneously heal them, because we know humans are electrical beings. And then if you look at the canes today, they all have rubber on the bottom of them, just like our shoes, because then the conductivity can't take place and the exchange can't take place. So when it comes to grounding in the winter, you can also touch trees, or you can get yourself a cane made from copper and brass or silver. Press it into the ground and the earth's energy will transfer up the cane to you, and as a result the frequency will heal you. And then the same narrative again. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds implemented this change. And then so you don't see any copper canes, brass canes or silver canes for that very reason of healing. Think of people's canes. They used to be made out of copper and brass. They used to have those really fancy looking canes that looks like bronze. And the reason was they were grounding through those canes. Because what you'd find is some of them canes were made from copper, silver and brass. And so when they were pressing that cane into the floor, that cane was then conducting the Earth's electromagnetic energy. And then the handles were also made out of copper, brass, gold, if you were wealthy enough for gold. And so that electricity and frequency would travel up the cane to the person, and as a result instantaneously heal them, because we know humans are electrical beings. And then if you look at the canes today, they all have rubber on the bottom of them, just like our shoes, because then the conductivity can't take place and the exchange can't take place. So when it comes to grounding in the winter, you can also touch trees, or you can get yourself a cane made from copper and brass or silver. Press it into the ground and the earth's energy will transfer up the cane to you, and as a result the frequency will heal you. And then the same narrative again. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds implemented this change. And then so you don't see any copper canes, brass canes or silver canes for that very reason of healing.
Peace, fam. I got some information we're gonna have to break down, because a friend of mine dropped some information to me because he was out in the field and decided, after seeing my video, to film this. Now I'm gonna show y'all this, and then I'm gonna give y'all a breakdown of what I think.
Of course, there's no engine in here, but these wings are very thin.
Very thin wings.
This 747.
747.
And yes, indeed, these are very, very thin.
Very, very thin.
They're long. They're very, very long.
Ain't no fuel in this motherfucker. Ain't no fuel in it. They're gonna try and tell you it's in the wings. You can see it's not in the motherfucking wings. You got gadgets and electronic wires, all kinds of shit. No fuel blast. Look at the size of that wing. Inside the wing, there's no fuel in here. Componentry, hydraulics, gears. Told ya. Oh L16. I'm gonna take the F14, the Tomcat. I'm taking all of them. Yeah, y'all fucked up. Ain't no way. Where's the fuel? I'm in all up in here. Ain't no fuel.
These don't look like fuel lines. These look like water, like cooling lines. This looks like all cooling lines. These look like some kind of lubrication. That might be a cooling line also. I don't see any, because this wing, it folds up. It's on a hinge.
No fuel.
And I don't see anywhere where fuel would be. This maybe could be fuel. This hose definitely isn't fuel. This could be oil to keep this hinge. Yeah, this is probably just oil to keep this hinge lubricated. I'm not seeing any fuel line.
Hydraulics.
What do I know?
So as you can see, something is not right here. Because the 747 says it has 66,000 gallons of fuel, and it says most of it is in the wings. Not these motherfuckers. This joint right here is supposed to have 12,000 pounds of fuel. 12,000 pounds? God damn, that's 6 tons of fuel on here? I think the fuck not. But when the mind's blind, the eyes can't see, but minds can. I'm about to cook.
Even if you are not ready for the day, it cannot always be